Hello, good morning. As advertised during Guardians of the Galaxy, now you'll get some high-octane action. Hope we don't promise too much. With me, I have by now the most experienced Tomb Raider commentator I've ever had.
Yes, I'm Kata. I'm the OG of the classics, by which I mean I played it when I was originally born, yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm Cadarev. This is now the 10th different Tomb Raider game I've played at DSA, so I'm approaching 100% completion.
How many are there?
Well, there is a 13th one to make, and I really want to complete them before that comes out, so time is running out. Anyways, speaking of, yeah, so I think we're still playing in German, is that correct? This is the last call?
Yes, we're still playing.
Perfect. All right, so then we'll play
Super!
Tomb Raider Die Chronic, I guess, or Die Chronik. Yeah, so we're ready in 3, 2, 1, go. So, we're starting out Tomb Raider Chronicles in Rome. There is quite a few things to talk about, but we will have a very significant glitch/skip coming up right ahead, which will also involve some morally debatable decision here to get rid of this dog.
Lara's young, she doesn't know any better.
Fair, yeah. So we really want to get rid of this dog because we will now go out of bounds. And when Lara is out of bounds, the game doesn't quite know how to handle that very well. So it will use other actors to trigger stuff to somehow advance the game. And if there are no other actors, we can use the camera like this to hit triggers that are far away. So basically there's kind of like a list of priorities. First it will use other enemies and then even flares or other things. So we really want to make sure there's nothing on the map. And then we can use the camera, point it in the general direction of the trigger we want to hit, and then there's always like a set distance we can quote unquote throw the camera, which we achieve by rolling, so placing the camera on the other side. And in this case we hit a cutscene trigger. So this game has unskippable cutscenes, as you might be aware by now, and you voted for German. So we have some German. Idiot!
Yeah, so how did we get out of bounds actually there?
Yeah, so introduced in Tomb Raider 2, we have access to flares. Flares are very good. Flares, especially in Tomb Raider 4 and 5, are by far the easiest way to get out of bounds. You basically run into a wall, you get a stumble animation, and while you're in the stumble animation, you drop the flare. It's perfectly, basically matches up with the wall. You just turn around and pick up the flare, which forces Lara to go inside the wall.
Mm-hmm. We'll see that a lot throughout the run.
We'll see that exactly now.
We'll see that in 2 seconds. Yeah. There we go.
Except in this case, we get teleported to the top.
Yeah, it's called embed, and the reason we get teleported to the top is because there's collision above us at that point. There's floor that we can stand on, and the game is trying to push Lara back in bounds, and so it pushes her to the top of that platform.
Exactly. Yeah, that works, of course.
Nice.
Sure. So yeah, this was another kind of similar thing. I mean, here you'll see the exact same thing as we did before. We'll just clip to the top here. But the weird jumpy thing there, what I did, is called flare jump. So we place the flare very close to the wall while being embedded in the wall. So when we press interact, Lara tries to pick up the flare, so she kind of like glides towards it. But since we're also out of bounds, the wall allows us to also input a jump. And while you're in the picking up animation, you have no collision. So we just dart forwards for a specified distance, which allows us to land inside this complex. And now it's pretty much just a matter of not running into walls, preferably, and clearing this first, yeah, we're still in the first level almost casually. And we're doing a bit out of order here, but yeah, the idea is there is a pickup at the end of the level that we need to get, and we're just interacting. It's your basic first level, not really any enemies to speak of, and yeah, you just use stuff that's in the way. By interacting with this pedestal, we open up the final pickup. You briefly saw it there before I skipped it. And we need to get out of this temple again, for which we will do another flare jump. So again, I'll place the flare just behind me and input this flare jump. So after a while, I'll pop out on the outside like that. And then we're good with the first level. And I hope this time around I will not talk over too much of the cutscene, because after all, that's what you donated for. But what you did mention is Yara's very young. This is canonically her first adventure that we know of as an adult. There are some side chapters where she's a child, but this is playing before Tomb Raider 1 even. So this is the prologue.
Right, the entire game is based on stories that are being told by multiple characters from Lara's life because she allegedly dies at the end of Tomb Raider 4.
Correct.
Zweiten Stein, Miss Croft, ja, ja.
Komm doch her und hol ihn dir.
She just found the first one, so now she hands over. So these are two antagonists you would encounter in Tomb Raider 1. Except in Tomb Raider 5, they're like pretty much joke characters for reasons that we will
Willst du nicht auch
get into later.
Gewissentaschen überprüfen?
And this is why the game is played at 2 a.m. So basically what happened is, yeah, she said, well, you can have the stone if you can check my back pocket. And then he's like, yeah,
Den hier in der
man, I love my job sometimes. And then, yeah, you know, funny innuendo things.
Late 90s, am I right?
Well, 2000s actually.
Okay, early
Exactly
2000,
yeah.
yeah.
Das will schließlich was heißen.
I think also one important thing to mention when we were doing the previous level, Caddy was talking about doing it mostly casually at the end. That's because it is actually very difficult to clip through doors that are locked. They interact very differently with Lara than walls, so that's why we cannot just skip like every single door.
Bit counterintuitively, you would think doors are thinner, so it's easier to clip through, but it's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
Mit eurer üblichen
In the classic Tomb
Draufgängerstellung
Raiders, that
habt
is.
ihr die nächste Torphase eingeleitet.
Oh yeah, I mean, modern Tomb Raiders play very differently. Yeah.
Wenn ich recht entsinne, das Tor hat sich umgeschaltet und wenn es in den nächsten Augenblick nicht 2 Steine bekommt. An deiner Stelle würde ich mir meinen Neandertaler da drüben schnappen und machen, dass ich fortkomme, so schnell die kleinen Beinchen mich tragen. Au revoir, mon cher.
Oh, still got
That was French,
Yeah.
like hello.
Oh no. Yeah, so next level. We need this crowbar for exactly one reason, which will be getting out of the Rome level at the very end. I also already lit up a flare. I will need the flare to go out once I'm out of bounds, but I also need a flare to go out of bounds.
Yeah.
I'll put down a safety safe here for that reason.
Yeah, so
Yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say that flares have a 30-second timer before they disappear, and we use it to get out of bounds, but now in order to do the binocular glitch, we need the flare to disappear because the game is trying to use it to trigger events, right? And we
Exactly.
want to use the camera instead, so
Yeah,
the flare needs to disappear.
Yep.
Well done there, by the way. That was
Thank
a
you.
really, really nice execution there.
Yeah, so now we're in the Colosseum, and here I will toss down my first actual save. So this game has 2 wrong warps, if you want to call them that. And for those, we need to have save files in very specific spots. More on that later, just keep it in the back of your mind. I put down a save here, and I need to keep it in the back of my mind that I don't overwrite this save. Luckily, quote-unquote, I will toss down another save very soon. So as long as I don't override it right there, I should be good. Here we just want to get to the other side, but we also can just use this kind of drop-down animation to cut the corner instead of using the slow shimmying animation.
Yeah, Caddy was also pausing the game. That's called pause buffering, and he's trying to get the perfect angle for it. You'll see it a couple of times doing the run for other setups too.
Yep. Here another embed using a flare. Hopefully the
These enemies,
the lines
yeah.
don't push me out, but I guess they want to. Yeah, so that's good. So that's what we kind of try to do in the corner. So they can't really push us out in some cases. If they're really determined, they will still push you out. But usually you will kind of be wedged between the walls and the lines. And here's another small application for flares called the flare cancel. So you saw Lara throw away the flare there. This allows us to cancel stumble animations. So usually if you fall from a specific height, you would get a 1 to 2 second animation where Lara's just stumbling. But the flare discarding animation takes priority. So that way we can save a bit of time. If we have the flares to spare, of course.
More embedding, and then you saw Caddy, he had to go to the side to pick up this key item because the game expects you to come from that side, so only from that side is the actual pickup trigger.
Yep, exactly. And here there is a very long cutscene ahead of me, and I want to skip that. luckily there's an alcove right here, and you saw me pause buffering there because that would still allow me to react and reload the save file I put down.
Because you cannot do that during cutscene.
Exactly. And now I still want to skip that cutscene, so we can actually see what a flare jump looks like from the side.
Nice.
So, yeah. You can see she was like, while falling down, she was like still in this weird pickup animation. That's how that works. And here we have a keyhole glitch. Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, of course I remember. I mean, I found this trick, actually.
Nice. I forgot. So.
Yeah, I didn't. But what happens here is we are using the flare to get out of bounds. And then when we try to pick up the flare while out of bounds, as doing the flare jump, we start gliding towards it. However, if we also get close enough to another interactable item, or in this case, the keyhole, we can interact with it even though we are missing the key item.
Yep. And now there's just these two enemies in the way, and we need to get rid of them, otherwise they would push us around, and we actually need very precise positioning for the end of this level, and we also need this key. We usually try to lure the enemies over here, because not only is it very close to the keyhole, but also the key that the gladiator drops is like light brown, and there are light brown tiles, so if you have them drop them on the wrong tile, you can look for it for quite a while.
Oh,
it's a bit
difficulty of seeing
yes.
in a Tomb Raider run at ESA. Wow, never heard of that before.
Yeah, so here I'll put down a save. I'll have a setup here to get into a very specific location. For the next keyhole glitch, to get past this gate, I hope that was the correct frame. Again, same principle. We use the flare here to... okay, it was one frame early. That's okay. That's why we have to save. Try again.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about classic Tomb Raiders is that you can save pretty much wherever.
Yeah. Can also be a problem if you save just before you die, of course. But yeah, same story as in many games, I guess. And that's that. And now you'll just see why we got the crowbar. So the end of this level is tied to us prying the Philosopher's Stone from the wall here. And that's the only reason we got the crowbar. And that's the Rome levels done.
Nice.
And now we're off to the second of 4 chapters. This one plays in Russia. Takes place a bit after the first level. I might still be before Tier 1 canonically. I don't know. But yeah, so the idea here is Lara's looking for the Spear of Destiny somewhere on the ocean floor. She tries to infiltrate a Russian submarine. Turns out the Russian military is like kind of infested by the mafia, and there is also a mafia handler on board the submarine that also wants to find the Spear of Destiny, and shenanigans ensue. Yeah, I'll try to just commentate the next few parts, and then the rest of the level will be very straightforward, so we can go through a few donations. But before that, yeah, so what I would like to specify here is for the Russian levels, unlike the Rome levels, we are very, very limited on flares. As you saw, flares are used for the majority of skips. They're very, like, the way to go out of bounds, pretty much. And luckily, for the Rome levels, we have flare pickups that give us way, way too many flares, more than we could possibly use. In the Russian levels, there are no convenient flare pickups. So we start with 3 flares, and that's the only 3 we get. We want to do a lot of skips, but we are restricted because of that. So yeah, I really need to use them wisely. And here I underflow my met pack count.
So this is very simple. The way you do this is surprisingly simple. You use a hotkey while in-game to use a med pack, but it actually doesn't properly get used. And when you open the menu, you are still able to use it from the menu. However, because it is now internally at 0 med packs, because it thinks that you used one already, it underflows to a value that is normally used for unlimited cheats. That's why when we open the menu now, it shows unlimited med packs.
Exactly. Yeah.
And we are able to keep on using them now from the game with the hotkey as well.
Yeah. So that makes some levels quite convenient, because obviously, yeah, you can take way riskier lines. This setup looks scuffed. But you will see way more important use later on. As I said, flare is very restricted, so we actually need to do something else here to get on top of collision. So obviously flares would be very handy there, but again, need to be very mindful of them. So we kind of did it in a way how you would use corner bugs in like tier 1, tier 2, with this like very weird jumping and crawling animations.
Yeah, you're basically just pushing Lara slightly more out of bounds with those
Exactly.
jumps.
And then once she's embedded, the game puts you on top, as always. And for the rest here, I'm pretty much just collecting key items I need to use to finish the level regularly.
Right.
But then, yeah, that's kind of where we will also have longer cutscenes.
Right.
And that's kind of where we have a bit of downtime. This dog can very much troll you. This looks like
Not bad.
trolling, but that's
bad.
definitely something I'd take.
I've
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
worse.
Yeah. Like if he ends up inside you, he'll just spin around Lara infinitely pretty much. You can't use the keyhole, which is annoying. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is why like the routing of Russia is very interesting, because there are so many different key items that we could be skipping, but because of the limitations of the flares, the community really had to figure out the most time-saving skips that we can go for.
Yeah, and I think we've hit a very nice, we made very good use of them. As you hopefully will soon see, here I just press the button to open up the end of the level, and then that's where I'll head right now. And I think that's pretty much all I can tell you for now, so feel free to go through some messages.
Perfect, thank you. We have a $50 donation from ESA Plum that has no message but is donated to our Pokemon Soul Silver trainer name being Plum. We have a $10 donation from Sinidro saying, "Hey Okada and Kata, here's a friendly reminder that you are very cute. Good luck on the run and much love." We have a $25 donation from Fino the Fox that just says, "Fun fact, Cadarev only likes Tomp because you can jump in it, and action bunnies are also capable of it."
Fair.
We have a $25 donation from Psychonaut that just says, "It's not Angel of Darkness, but we're proud of you anyway."
Where is he? Ah, there he is. Yes.
Based message. So this is like Guile.
I was about to say.
Fighter,
I was
or-
about to say. I know you're a big Street Fighter fan. Yeah, very good.
Sonic Boom.
Yeah, so this was her very sneaky way to get into the submarine.
Yeah.
We have
You
time
must
for
have-
one more.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have $25 donation from LVO Desktop Assessment that says, "Special message to Cadarev, proud to be your colleague, GG for the run and GG for your time for charity."
Cute.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is the first ESA that my colleagues from work officially know that I'm participating in, and that was one of them. Thank you very much.
It's his first ESA. He's never been here.
Yeah. This is my but my 10th Tomb Raider that I run at.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how that works.
Yeah,
right?
it's crazy. I've been busy all week long.
Oh, he's Captain.
Yeah.
Okay. So who's this guy?
So this is the Admiral. This is the guy from the Russian Marine. He's like kind of the anti-hero here.
Okay.
So he's bound by the military codes and arrests Lara, but he's part of the corrupt military. But
I
he,
see.
in his heart, he's the good guy, and he will help us maybe by the end of the level.
Good. The maybe was
And also
the
this
important
other
part.
guy is very good at gliding straight through Lara.
Sie begehen einen großen Fehler. Und sie
Maybe he was also picking up a flare, so he had no collision.
Sie öffnen diese Türe unter gar keinen Umständen. Verstanden?
Verstanden.
Verstanden. So this is where we will do the first wrong warp. I will go out of bounds here
Using the flare.
using the flare. So my second flare in Russia. I only have one left. I'll toss down a save here. I will load the previous save that I did in the Colosseum. I'll load the one in the U-boat again, and we're in the next level.
What?
And that is like the most excellent use of flare in Russia, because the U-boat level, das U-boat, we were in, takes forever because you're disarmed, so you lose all your weapons, you lose all your stuff. So it's like just 5 minutes of crawling through crawl spaces, nothing going on. So it's a huge skill, including some cutscenes, which, as we know, are also unskippable. But how does this whole wrong warping thing work? Right. So every tile on every map has an index. So just think of it as an ID number for each tile. So I put down a save on the Colosseum map for a specific tile, which had a specific number that I don't know.
Let's say 5.
Sure. And then we're on map B, in this case, das U-Boot. And in das U-Boot, the tile with the index 5 would finish the level.
Okay.
And we had Lara out of bounds, and as we know, when Lara's out of bounds, the game is a bit freaky, and basically it fires every frame all triggers all at once, trying to trigger all triggers. And by first loading the Colosseum save, I set the current tile index to 5, loaded the Das U-Boot level where Lara was out of bounds, so on every frame, game triggers all triggers. And before the tile index gets updated, it uses the old tile index, which is 5, which in map B triggers the level end, which is why we teleported here.
Okay, makes sense.
Which is very powerful, even more powerful in the previous game, Tier 4, because there it actually allows you to warp to completely new maps out of order. So you could, that's why that game is 25 minutes long, because you can wrong warp from 50% into the run directly into the credits. But here we can only advance one level at a time.
Still huge.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And again, yeah, cutscenes are unskippable, which is no matter what cutscene you can skip, it's basically a huge gain. You also saw me toss down a random save there. As you might have guessed, that's for the second wrong warp later on, which is very convenient. It's right along the way. And as you may have also seen, saving and loading in Tomb Raider 4 and 5 is super fast. There's a hotkey. You're instantly in the menu. If you've played the older Tier 1 to Tier 3 games, there is this cool animation where first you get the ring menu, and then you select the passport, and the passport opens, and you have to flip a page, and no more of that. Also, maybe you have realized this is the original Tomb Raider 5. Last February, they released the remasters. The year before, they released the Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 remasters. This year it was Tomb Raider 4, 5, and AOD. Unlike the Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 remasters, the Tomb Raider 4, 5, and AOD remasters are very, very different from the original. So they fixed pretty much everything here. So no more wrong warping shenanigans or binocular triggers.
Okay.
So very different runs.
Damn. Sounds like those suck.
I don't have them, so I wouldn't know.
Okay.
And as you may have also guessed, this is Sergei, so this is the mafia guy.
He's got a spear.
Yeah.
Damn.
Schieß die Dame ins Meer.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Now everything's clear.
Sergei, hören Sie mir zu. Sie haben ja keine
Hear me out, Sergey. That's what he said. See? Huh?
Do you have time for one quick donation?
Sure.
We have a $5 donation from Strife the Historian that just says, 2 of my favourite people on screen at the same time. I have to donate. I wish I could enjoy the event with you all, but I'll see you next time around. You're cute. Contribute to target of Super Mario Galaxy 2's perfect run.
Thank you, Strife.
Missing
Wish
you
you were here, yeah.
Yeah. So, using the Spear of Destiny apparently wasn't good for Sergei's health or the health of the submarine. So now it's no longer das U-Boot, it's das sinkende U-Boot.
Ah, okay.
Yes. And you may remember that at the start of the Russian levels, I underflowed my medkit counter, and Kata explained to you how that works. And now I have unlimited medkits, which is very handy. And we will make use of that in this level. And I also told you I only have one flare left, and I need that flare at the very end of the level. So for now, while I could technically skip, but I'm not sure if I'm on fire or not. I think I extinguish it, but I'll still counter heal just in case. Because you keep taking damage in a cutscene.
That's why you hear the, sounds.
Oh, I'm on
fire. Yeah, on fire.
Good
Good job.
So, this is the main reason why having unlimited medkits is very handy in both Tier 4 and Tier 5. Because being set on fire disables certain triggers.
Right. Because the way this works casually is once you are set on fire, you're basically not supposed to survive. The game expects Lara to die soon.
Yeah, so there are ways to extinguish fire, namely water. However, I want to be set on fire in this level. Because one of the things, as Kata explained, you're supposed to die, so the game doesn't trigger any cutscenes. Because what's the point?
Right.
And as you may have also noticed by now, cutscenes in this game take a while and they can't be skipped, unless you're on fire. Which is why I now have to constantly counter-heal myself until I get past next door. And past next door there is a big cutscene trigger. And once I'm past that trigger, I can then extinguish the flames, and I'm good. And that's where we'll use the last flare to trigger the end of the level.
Yeah, this is not the last time that you are seeing this run, so maybe if you are on speakers, maybe it's a good time to use headphones instead.
Well, a bit late for that now.
Well, just warning,
Yeah. So as you saw there, I was standing in water, and when Lara jumps, she goes into a slight crouch. That's enough to extinguish the flames. I don't have to extinguish them, it's just a lot more convenient. Because as I almost overwrote the wrong save file, yeah, as I said, I would need to use my last flare here, because we will... Okay, that's why I do the save. Yeah, so this flare has to land in a pretty specific spot, because I need to do 2 keyhole glitches with the same flare, and I think this was the setup. Yes, good, so that's 1. And now I need to pick up the same flare again, use it in the other corner, and that allows us to skip picking up and using the nitrogen and oxygen tanks.
Yeah, this is like where the 30-second timer of the flare can actually come into play. We have to be very quick because we gotta always drop it, get out of bounds, then try to pick it up from out of bounds and get the glitch to activate, and have to do it all twice.
Yeah, and that's what triggers the end of the Russian level. So
Niet.
now, yeah, Niet. Rumpf hat weggeschlagen. So now, yeah, the Admiral explains to you how he still believes in the Russian bear, so
Okay.
Mother Russia, and
Maybe he watched the Hrot run.
true. Yeah, and basically it says, yeah, he lets us escape through the escape hatch, and he'll stay on his ship because that's the way it's supposed to be, and blah blah blah. And yeah, that's it for Russia, pretty much.
Yeah, that's 2 out of 4 levels done. Very nice.
Do you have time for one quick donation? Because I
Go
think
ahead.
you'll want to hear this one. Is a $10 donation from Anonymous that just says, I sure hope those colleagues will be up in time for work tomorrow morning. And that was going towards our Speedrun Class 2 perfect run. And then I have another $10 donation from Sinidro that just says, so can you also find a wrong warp for the bike segment in Tomb Raider Legend? Please. Also, a quick shout out to my cutie patootie Zonorous in the background there. Love all of you.
I will not touch that game, so no.
So this is about Tomb Raider Legend, and I think Tomb Raider Legend is a genuinely great game. I'll get
keep getting worse.
I'll get banned from his channel for this,
Keeps
okay?
getting
But
worse.
like, the game's fire. Not when you speedrun
Yeah,
it, but like,
no.
yeah, there's a lot of RNG in that game, right? Yeah. Meanwhile, the classics are genuinely consistent. You can see the enemies can sometimes push you around, like we saw with the lions earlier, for example, but a lot of it is fairly consistent, thanks to how the movement works.
And this is also the cutscene where all the Russian viewers will always cringe when she says like "Do svidanya, Admiral."
Oh,
Ugh.
that's like he's counting in Spanish.
So we're in Ireland. We're Chaldara, and this
This is a cool skip. Nice.
This was the first Ireland level. If I wouldn't get stuck on collision out of bounds. This would be a short level if I didn't make it 3 times as long as it was supposed to be.
Still a pretty short level.
Yeah, so you can, with a precise setup, you can grab that ledge there you're not supposed to grab, clearly. So, Child Lara, very unfortunately cannot use flare, cannot use pistols, pretty much has no inventory. So, as you might expect, a lot of our go-to glitches slash skips slash shenanigans don't work.
There's still some shenanigans, though.
Absolutely. But here in the first part, we have to do this the intended way. And the intended way is so that we can get to the floor below this one. By hitting those switches in the correct order, we now have awoken these spooky skeletons, ghosts, thingies.
Yeah, so it's interesting. This is a story told about Lara with by a priest,
Yes.
family priest, and also cool skip coming up here.
Well, if I could get the setup, yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So there is a cutscene trigger right around that corner that I want to skip by kind of clipping through that corner. However, the trigger is still there, so I need to do the exact same thing on my way back. Which is a lot easier than I make it seem, but this has always been like my worst level by far. This is where I lose a bajillion years in every speedrun, as you can tell. But so it is.
Gotta be careful with the skeletons. They deal a lot of damage as well.
Yep. But by putting in the Knochenstaub here, we will we will trigger a cutscene that also makes the ghost disappear, and more importantly, open the door to the lower level.
Is that like Knoblauchstaub was?
Knochenstaub.
Okay.
Bone dust.
I see. Close,
Which
I mean.
lights up.
You can have granulated garlic. That's kind of
Sure,
like
yeah.
dust, you know?
So here we will now go out of bounds without flares, without, if I could count, that was
3.
3? Maybe? It could work. Yeah, good. So
Was 3, you trust me, man. Like, 1, 2, 3, no?
Polizei.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you clip partially into the corner, you keep on jumping, Lara progressively gets more and more into the corner, and at one point she's considered out of bounds. Something unknown to me triggers the level end. I have no idea what it is, but it works.
Yeah, probably like enemies or something like that, so they interact with the
Yes.
trigger. So that's the priest that I mentioned.
Exactly. So that's the family priest. And apparently his hair has become white when it wasn't white before. I wouldn't know.
He's Gandalf.
Ja, das kann schon sein. Ich bin
But he's very nonchalant about it. It's like, oh, okay.
mir ziemliche Angst eingejagt. Darum war ich auch nicht in der Kapelle. Aber wie ich sehe, hast du dich ja auch
Kapelle?
Kapelle.
He
Chapel.
plays music?
Close enough. Close enough. Yeah, so that was a cutscene. Comfortably, we go right into the next cutscene.
That was a cutscene. Really?
It was.
Oh,
Just in
damn.
case you missed it, there's
I see.
another one right at the
Okay,
top.
nice. So I'm very disappointed because before the wrong warps, this level had my favorite cutscenes of the entire run.
Yes.
With like this devil dude and then having like a book that you punish him with.
Yes.
It's fantastic. Like if you've not played the game casually, you would love it. But the wrong warp skips it, which obviously for speed is great.
Well, yeah, because before, so this is the old mill level. The level was 10 minutes long, out of which 20 seconds were gameplay. Because you have this cutscene, you go to the next area, there's a cutscene, you clip into a room, trigger level end, into a cutscene, which goes into New York, which starts with a cutscene. Anyways, so, but as you mentioned, here is where we do the next wrong warp, or, well, second and last wrong warp. But we need to get Lara out of bounds, which is not easy, as we have explained earlier in this the correct save. When you're child Lara. I need to get around. Okay, good, because there's a cutscene there on the left. I still hope good. Yeah. If you've played either tier 4 or 5 casually, you might know that ropes are absolutely horrendous. But we need to use this one because there is a torch up there, and the torch is a item we can pick up.
Yeah, so you probably know where this is going. And as Kari was going to say, as child Lara, you have no flares, so it's not easy to get out of bounds.
And now we hope to... Yeah, so the tile on my left is the one with the cutscene that I want to skip. The issue is now the setup is a bit weird. I have to kind of eyeball it. So yeah, we want to have the torch somewhat close to it. Okay, yeah, so now we're out of bounds.
Yeah.
We have the save in Tiefseetauchen, which has some tile index. We load the alte Mühle with a PlayStation circle symbol,
yeah.
because the game doesn't know how to do Ü, or Ä. And that triggers the end of the level, which goes now into the New York City levels, which are is the last chapter.
Yeah. Yeah, again, just to repeat, we basically load a save file that is sitting on a specific tile index, and then when we load back, we are out of bounds, so the game uses the other save files index, and because we set it up correctly previously, we go into the end level trigger.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is the second to last really long cutscene, I would say, which very interestingly showcases Lara's catsuit, I guess.
2000, baby.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll save and load here just because it gives me control over Lara a bit earlier. But this whole level is basically one big setup that allows us to go out of bounds here, because we also don't have any flares in New York, which sucks, but we make do with what we have. Because if I go into first-person mode now, I can turn the camera in a way that actually hits the level end trigger anyways.
Very nice, good job.
Du warst ein ungezogenes Mädchen. Here I set up another med kit under flow, so you might know where this is going.
Yeah, we had to reset it up because the inventory gets reset with every new level.
Exactly. So last advice to really switch to headphones now, because this time we will not extinguish the flames early. Lara will be on fire for the entirety of this level, and there is no binocular glitch or anything to speed it up. So enjoy, I guess.
Yeah, and as you saw earlier, we keep on being on fire during cutscenes and stuff as well, so we need to keep on pressing heal. Like here.
Yep.
Is du okay?
Alles klar? Yeah, so this is Zip, the guy in the command center, I guess, who we're on walkie-talkie with. He's asking for Lara's well-being, and she's like, yeah, I'm fine. Clearly.
Ich bin im Erdgeschoss, oder?
Oh. The extra spinneroony.
Yeah, that was
For the
Persia-like, yeah. For the fat, yeah, okay. They said Oda at the end of like 3 sentences in a row, like, with this voice acting. Who wrote this? I like how we're
13,
silent.
14,
He's counting.
50. Yeah, this should be the perfect height for the next
Nice.
setup,
Okay.
because we can actually jump around the corner here into the tunnel. Also,
Oh, nice jump. That was good.
Close enough.
That's very precise.
Yeah, from this point onward, I can pretty much use my saves liberally. I'm not in danger of overwriting anything, which is definitely a relief, unlike having to constantly heal myself. But an interesting thing about that is I'm actually not spamming the heal hotkey. This is also awkward. I'm using a somewhat like once per second rhythm, I don't know, something like that. Because if you spam the heal hotkey, you actually get like lower frequency on the actual heal, so there's a bigger cooldown. And right now it seems like I'm completely overdoing it, because as you can see I heal once I'm at like 90% or something. So like I could definitely wait for a bit longer, make it a bit less annoying. But especially coming from first learning the old Tomb Raider 4 speedrun, where you had this going on for like 10 minutes at a time. But also, as you will see later, with increased damage, and being on fire, things definitely stack up. I was supposed to shoot the glass here, like that. Yeah, so in the next room, for example, you'll see there will be auto turrets, basically, that fire at Lara. And you can see that the damage adds up. I'll probably heal at around 50 instead of...
Yeah, look at top left.
Well, not right now.
Well, once the
Yeah.
cutscene ends, of course.
Durch die Tür.
You can still look at top left.
Also, it's a good ad for Fizzviz Cola.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're normally supposed to be... You can see the damage now. You're
Yeah.
supposed to be stealthy here to not activate the turrets, but because we jumped there right before the cutscene, we were basically in the middle of the room as the cutscene ends, and so the turrets immediately see us. I think we haven't mentioned why we are on fire in this level.
We haven't. No? Do you want to do that?
Well, is there going to be an example of it coming up soon?
Soon is a bit of a stretch.
Okay, so there's a good reason. We'll mention it when it becomes relevant
enough.
again.
Yeah, so this part is just me somewhat casually progressing, apart from being on fire, I guess. There's also mini-boss spawning in here that we do not care about. There's banger music going on. And this is actually the artifact that Lara stole at... No, Werner von Kroy
Yeah,
stole at the start of Tomb Raider 4.
yes, where his leg gets all twisted.
And then he utters the famous lines.
The famous lines.
Mein Bein, mein Bein.
That truly is a quote of all time.
Absolutely. Yeah, so here again I have to heal during the cutscene. So also very complex puzzle here where I have to guess the code.
Yeah, and because these were console-friendly games, the UI, yeah, for that lock is not very good. Obviously, we have numpads available, but nothing like that on console. So
That was actually,
That was
for
pretty
my
good.
standards, that was somewhat decent. No worries, it only takes like 1 more minute of this level, then everyone can relax again. Interestingly here, so we can actually use this kind of roll to completely bypass that crawl space, because crawling is very slow. And here we drop down pretty much the start of the level, but now we can go to the end of the end. Here you can again see the damage that adds up when a turret shoots at
And
you.
this is why we are on fire. If you look at these lasers, we're just gonna pass straight through them. Normally, if you don't deactivate them, Lara gets one shots.
Yeah, that's the entire reason why we're on fire in this level. And this is the actual last cutscene.
Yeah,
Yeah, after this it's straight on to the last level.
that is also Werner. So
Yes,
basically, Werner was like
The
a
mentor.
patron,
Yeah, exactly.
of
The guy in the
Lara's.
wheelchair, yeah.
Yeah. And shenanigans happened, and they are not friendly. And so Lara decided to go ahead and steal the artifact from him. So that's why we are in New York City.
Yeah, which is quite interesting because so he gets the iris, the artifact at the start of TR4 when Lara is a child. Then this technically happens, so she steals it back. He's in a wheelchair, and then the rest of TR4 happens when he's not in a wheelchair. So, yeah, you know.
Time's convoluted,
Yeah.
man.
Also, they have HD footage of Lara infiltrating the complex.
Deutsch commentary as well. Who's this bozo?
That's his butler.
Oh, he has a butler as well. That's messed up.
Yeah. So this is Alarmstufe Rot.
Yeah.
Red alert. In my opinion, the best.
Command and Conquer?
Heinke's not here. In my opinion, the best
Boom.
speedrunning level in Tomb Raider, unironically. It's apparently also pretty much one of the worst casual levels in Tomb Raider, but I wouldn't know because I haven't played this casually. But yeah, basically this level has pretty much everything you can ask for in my opinion, and also it's like, as you might expect, very stress-inducing when you're on PB pace after watching a billion cutscenes.
That jump he did there is very important as well because he skips a tile that normally changes the geometry of the level, and this way he managed to save some time.
Exactly. Makes it way faster.
You have to be a little bit careful because the collision doesn't actually add up to the visuals on the screen as well, so you can just fall out of bounds.
Yeah, so this is a bit tricky. As you can see, the camera angle here is not very helpful. But yeah, there's a very specific spot you need to stand underneath to open that hatch. So after that very basic first part, hello, please, thank you, we come up to the infamous laser section. That is already not very stress-inducing. Okay, yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
that's the one shot from the
Yeah.
laser that we are trying to avoid with the fire
Yeah,
earlier.
so that's also something that can happen when you're on PB pace. You obviously want to go fast, and I was too greedy. Okay. And what you also have to pay attention to is you don't want to spam enter to load the level, because in tier 4 and tier 5, when you go to the main menu, you're hovering over new game.
New game,
So that's
yeah.
what happened in my last marathon. But now we're on to the final section, which is all about setting up a QWOP to go out of bounds. And QWOP is the quintessential glitch that changed pretty much every classic Tomb Raider. So first I need to open a new area.
Okay, look at this, guys. Bam, 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 bam. That's an ace right there. Insane.
Yeah, so what I need to do is basically Lara needs to hit her head while in a downwards trajectory, which usually is not something that's supposed to happen. And that sets her in a state where next time Lara jumps, she goes into a very iconic pose that first one. Oh, okay. So you will see Lara make a QWOP pose.
There's a bug flying around.
And now I have 10 seconds until Lara submerges underneath the map, which I will use to go out of bounds. Also, time is coming up soon, maybe. And from here on, I will just do a pretty much normal binocular glitch.
Now we are changing our vertical aim there.
We're mainly counting.
Okay, sorry.
And time.
Time. Wow.
43 on
job.
the dot. Yeah, sorry about the jumbled QWOP explanation there at
Yeah.
the end. I didn't realize we were that close to the end.
There's so much happening. Like in this run, even though you do have cutscenes,
Yeah.
there's still so much tech that is there to explain. And I had Caddy basically sit down with me before the run and try to explain it a little bit more deeply. And we just had to take breaks because even with the cutscenes and everything, it takes a while. There's a lot going on.
Yeah. That was Tomb Raider 5. easily my favorite classic Tomb Raider speedrun.
My favorite as well.
Yes, and casual game, I guess, as well.
Yeah,
maybe?
casual, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. You've always been an advocate of this game. I didn't believe it first, but I've become
Once the wrong word was found.
Not even before that.
Yeah?
I mean.
Okay.
Yeah, but the wrong word made a very easy decision, yeah. Made a believer out of me. Yeah, I think that's good enough for now.
I thought that was very good, dude. Like 43.
Fair enough, yeah. That was quite alright. Yeah, that's it for me for now. Unless there's anything else, I'll hand it over back to Tech.
All right. Well, thank you both, Cadarev and Catalyst, for that